Welcome to She's Got Guts, where functional nutrition meets ancient wisdom to bring you grounded insights and practical tools for your wellness journey. Join Lara, licensed Eastern medicine practitioner and wellness wizard, and Molly, registered dietitian and gut health expert, as they unpack trends, tackle bloating, balance hormones, and help you thrive in modern womanhood without completely frickin' losing your mind. Let's do this.
How are you doing on your goals? I know I'm over here just trying to grow my hair.
Well, then let's do it.
Oh, yes.
So hair loss is very common. It's common in so many areas of life. So obviously we've all heard
Yes.
about postpartum hair loss, but I think something that really is not talked about very often is hair loss over 35, 40 in perimenopause and in menopause, and how people who are older just decide that they need to keep their hair short because they can't grow it anymore because it's too fine or it breaks too often or whatever it is. And we're here to provide some information about that and some alternatives to just cutting it off.
Absolutely. I am actually that person who has been trying to grow their hair past their shoulders for quite some time. I am on this journey and have spent so much money on so many things. But taking that, holistic approach is a great way to go. So we'll tell you a little bit about the hair growth cycle. We'll tell you a little bit about what nutrients you need. We'll tell you a little bit about the flashy stuff that's out there. We'll tell you a little bit about the external treatment that you need and why. And then we'll talk a little bit about some cool Chinese stuff. And you will know exactly what you need to do after this, or at least what might resonate with you to try to grow your hair or keep it from breaking or whatever by the time we're done here.
By the time we're done.
Woo!
The hair growth cycle has three main phases. The active growth phase is called the anagen phase. It lasts 2 to 7 years in most people. In a healthy state, around 90% of the hairs on your head are in the anagen phase at any given time. Then hairs transition from anagen to catagen. This is a transitional phase and it only lasts 2 to 4 weeks. So typically 1 to 2% of scalp hairs are in this phase. And during this phase, the nerves and blood vessels at the bottom of the follicle, called the follicular papilla, regresses and the hair follicle starts to degenerate. It enters the telogen phase, the resting phase, and this stage lasts 2 to 4 months. 8 to 10% of scalp hair is in telogen. During telogen, the hair follicle continues to regress and migrates up closer to your skin. Sometimes the hair shaft is released from the follicle during this point, and then a new anagen hair starts to grow toward the surface. So it's kind of like it's growing for 7 years, and then the follicle kind of goes into a retreat, a hibernation, if you will. Hair falls out, starts all over.
What's the second phase? We have anagen. What's the second one? Again, catagen and telogen. I feel like we just named 3 galaxies on the Return of the Jedi or something. And telogen is more of that resting phase.
Yeah.
Or like the die-off phase.
Telogen is when the resting phase, the stage lasts about 2 to 4 months. During telogen, the follicle continues to regress and migrates up closer to the skin, and the point where the hair shaft is released from the hair follicle is telogen. There's too much telogen. It's telogen effluvium.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
You feel me?
Oh, man. Well, this is so interesting. Having learned a little bit more about that, now I can kind of see where you would want to interrupt the cycle based on how your hair is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if you have beautiful long hair, but it's very thin, maybe you would want more to nourish the catagen and telogen phases, because that's where you're going to stimulate more growth and have it hold on longer. It'll stay like it's growing long, right?
I think the anagen is the growth phase.
Like you do a good job in the anagen because it's holding on to it and it's growing it, but you're not getting more and you're not turning it over.
Right.
Interesting. That's really cool. Well, I'll just kind of rattle off the basics here. Obviously, the big one, we need a lot of protein to make sure that we're growing hair. We need some iron. Iron is what carries the oxygen to the roots, so it helps it not shed. The zinc, that's more about like repairing the tissues from any damage. So if you have like inflammation or eczema or any sort of like scalp issue, you'd probably want to make sure that zinc is a part of it.
Right.
Biotin, that's going to be all about keratin and collagen production. So you want to make
Hmm.
sure that's in the game. Vitamin C is kind of like a trickle down effect. It's not only going to be great to help boost collagen, but it's also really essential in absorbing iron. Vitamin D is about that follicle health. Vitamin D is fat soluble. You can think about what your scalp is made out of. You're definitely going to want those fatty acid and fat soluble vitamins to make sure that that skin is really healthy, as well as the vitamin E and omega 3s. Omega 3 is great for that, hydrating the scalp and making sure that you're really reducing inflammation up there as well, which E and C and D are also helpful for.
Right.
But yeah. And
Right.
I just kind of wanted to say in the big picture, from my Chinese medicine mind, we think about the hair and the skin and the nails all being rooted in abundance, right? So if you have extra chi, if you have abundant chi, you are going to have beautiful hair, you're going to have a sparkle in your eye, your skin is going to be more taut and glowy, your nails will be a little bit longer. But if you're lacking in, let's say, some of these nutrients or sunlight, or could be even shampoos, they're bad, you don't have good shampoo or whatever, you're going to be not able to produce that. We look at these things as being an extension. So in Chinese medicine, these are an extension of the blood. So when we're observing someone who might come in to see us, they might be in their perimenopausal years and their hair is thinning, just all over, but then maybe it's more like in the front that it's not growing in very well or whatever, but they also are kind of pale and they're reporting that they're being real, they're feeling really tired.
Hmm.
Sure, there might be a hormone component to that, but for us, that would direct us into, does this person have enough abundance? Do they have enough of all of the nutrients we need to be able to create this quote unquote extra?
Hmm.
So if it's not there, you got to make sure you're getting those into you.
And
But
I,
one thing that you explain really well, Molly, is the ability to actually be able to absorb these nutrients. Like it doesn't really matter if you're putting them in if you're not absorbing them.
sure. A couple things too is with iron, you need stomach acid to break the iron off the food that you're eating and absorb it with everything else in the small intestine. If there's
Right.
any kind of imbalance in the small intestine, then it's going to be difficult for you to absorb that. B12, similar
Hmm.
process. It has to be separated from the food. And if you can't break down the foods enough to separate these nutrients off without adequate stomach acid or enzymes, then we're in a situation where you do want to get some help with the actual digestion and absorption piece. Now, interestingly,
Mm.
omega 3s, which reduce inflammation, and vitamin D and vitamin E are all fat soluble vitamins. So if you have foul smelling stools or stools that float or foam or greasy looking stools, you may have an issue with fat digestion. If you don't have a gallbladder, all of those things are going to make it harder for you to be able to absorb fat
Mhm.
soluble vitamins. So that may be playing a role in your hair. Now, vitamin D is known to inhibit two kinds of inflammatory cytokines, Th1 and Th17. Those are white blood cells that have been linked to autoimmunity. Low vitamin D levels have been found in people with a certain type of alopecia areata. It's not clear whether vitamin D supplementation results in clinically relevant improvement, but we do want your vitamin D to be within the normal range. And the normal range is 30 to 100. So we actually want your vitamin D to be between like 50 and 60, ideally.
50, minimum 50. Yeah.
The minimum is 50. Mine has never been 50.
Mhm.
Not once.
Yours has?
And I never.
Oh, wow.
I take it like a phone. It used to be much lower than it is now. It's like 48. So I'm fine. Definitely that does have some, and I have Crohn's disease. So I have a lot of damage to my small intestine. Iron, same thing. I'm chronically anemic. And, I've
Mhm.
checked for bleeding. You could also check for, well, is there blood in the toilet? Like, are you seeing that you maybe have like
Mhm.
a bleeding ulcer further up in your body? Or is there hemorrhoids
Mhm.
that are causing bleeding? Do you have very heavy
Mhm.
periods? All of that can also deplete your iron, right? And
Mhm.
interestingly for me, I went through a huge hair loss thing after I got COVID in 2022 and
Oh.
a big hair loss thing. And I
Oh.
did, and we'll talk about this, end up taking minoxidil for a short amount of time orally, but I also took Nutrafol for a long time. And I found that the two helped. Nutrafol especially helped with the shedding.
Yeah.
Minoxidil forces your hair to be in the anagen phase, so it like
Yeah.
never goes into any of the other phases, and that's why
Yeah.
all your follicles are growing at the same time, which is what makes it happen so
Mm.
quickly. They're not
Yeah.
exactly sure the mechanism of action. I know you'll get into that, Laura. Sorry, but I just wanted to say
Yeah.
that
No, it's okay.
now in my journey, I had recently started taking beef liver capsules, which are very inexpensive. I have eliminated the use. I was doing one Nutrafol to two per day to prevent shedding. I don't have to do that
Mm.
anymore. And I know
Great.
that beef liver has zinc and iron and
Yeah.
fat soluble
Yeah.
vitamins in it and some
And
protein in
fat.
it. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Chinese medicine uses liver as the number one thing we say to help build up blood. Build
yeah,
up your blood.
build it
Yeah.
up.
Build it up. Do it. Do you know what kind of animal's liver you're eating? Is it
It's a
bovine
it's
or
a
is it?
bovine, it's a beef.
Yeah.
And something else that is interesting is that with biotin, I want us to remember that high dose biotin, so over 5,000 micrograms per day, will interfere with
Mm.
your lab tests, specifically thyroid function lab tests and troponin for cardiac. And high biotin can give a falsely low troponin, which means that if they're checking to see if you had a heart attack, they may not know. It also can interfere with cortisol, estradiol, FSH, LH, testosterone, and parathyroid hormone as well. It can lead to false high or low in vitamin D, and it may affect some iron labs, but the thyroid and the heart are the two. So 5,000 micrograms per day is your max. So remember that you may be taking
Yeah.
multiple supplements. At least stop them a couple weeks before you get your blood test, but certainly keep in mind that it's not ideal to be taking that much
Right.
biotin.
And biotin doesn't mean that you've just grabbed a bottle with biotin. That also means that if you're taking a multiple of B's, biotin,
Niamin,
biotin is B7. So it doesn't have to say biotin on the label. It could say B7
B7.
on the label. So know that
Yes.
that's the same thing. Yeah. So if you're taking a multi B,
And hair, skin, and
that's for
nails
sure.
always have a high dose of biotin in them because it does help. But Laura, tell us more about all that.
I would say biotin is one of those things because we don't just automatically categorize it as like a B vitamin. And I think in some sort of blend, you're rarely going to see bio B7 over 5,000 milligrams, or even see it at 5,000 micrograms. It's usually going to be kind of like blended with the others in
Right.
that ratios of a multi of Bs. So you'd want to make sure you kind of get it on its own and make sure it's not going over it for sure. But one of the things I like about, or like that's kind of popular, is the peptides.
Mm.
And my topical stuff doesn't have a lot of peptides, but what is a peptide? It's not all that complicated. I know that we love to try to find all the sexy things that's going to make it easier, that'll be like, "Oh, my hair is instantly growing," which like you said minoxidil does. That's one of them that really does help with that. But peptides are basically just amino acids,
Mhm.
which what are amino acids? Amino acids are the building blocks of
They
proteins.
are.
So, why would you introduce a peptide? Like, why, if you're getting adequate protein and you know that you're absorbing it, why would you get a peptide? Well, maybe your hair is really falling out and you are working on your ability to be able to absorb your nutrients better and
Mhm.
you are working on consuming more protein. Maybe that would be a good time to introduce some peptides because they are in like they're a micronutrient at that point. They're going to be highly absorbable. They're not a piece of meat that you have to break down and have all of those other elements necessary to be able to really absorb it. So that might be a good time to do it. It's going to stimulate growth, it's going to boost circulation, all the things we just talked about with the other stuff.
Right.
There's some of them out there. I can kind of go over the names. The copper peptide is a big one that people talk about. That one blocks the DHT, which we can talk more about later with some of the topical stuff. And it helps stimulate growth. There's a biotinol triptide 1, which is a biotin derivative. So again, if you're getting biotin and you're able to break it down and it can make it to your scalp, then that's great. You don't
Mm-hmm.
really need to have a peptide if you've got all those other things we talked about. The keratin peptides, reinforced hair structure and improved health. Okay, cool. Keratin, I think like the strength of the hair when I think of keratin, right?
Yeah.
Acetyl tripeptide 3, that helps with the hair anchoring and the follicle size. So when you think about these things, it's like, okay, well, what part of the hair phase am I having the most trouble with? If you're one of those people that's like, I want my hair to be thicker, I want my hair to be longer, I want it to stop falling out, thinking about what phase that is and what might be happening at that time, it might be appropriate to add one of these specific peptides in to help with that growth at that stage.
And how do you
But
add it
again,
in?
all of the basics matter in the internal things to me matter first before
Mm-hmm.
the external things, unless you are like so desperate to see something that you're like, fuck it, I don't care if I'm going to be scientific about it. I'm just going to do all the things at once and whatever I can afford and think is working, I'm going to keep buying that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of people's approach. I tend to go a little more scientifically sometimes, but what were
So
you going to say, Molly?
do
Sorry.
you add them in with topicals? Is it an injection? Because I know that you can inject peptides basically illegally because none of them are really approved for use by the FDA in the US. There are definitely people that are using them. But how do you get these peptides on your head?
People are making serums where they're giving you these extracted peptides
Got
and
it.
it's in a little, I think the thing with those is they just want to make sure that you can, get into the hair from the outside. But, again, if you're not doing it from the inside, I don't really know if that's going to be part of the longevity for your hair.
Mm-hmm.
Topicals are really interesting to me. I like them personally because I'm a big like self-care person. And when I can like put a mask on my hair and scrub my scalp and put some beautiful oils on it and then put my red light hat on, which for me is the number one thing that makes my hair grow is the red light. If I use this red light on my hair 2 cycles every night, my hair just gets gray at the roots because it's growing so fast. For me, it's more of the breaking off. But so some of the topical things, obviously there's shampoos that you can use. There's a gazillion of them out there. I'm just going to plug Prose, Prose. I think that's how you say it, is Prose. They do like
Yeah.
a custom one, and I just ordered their shampoo and conditioner. And I do like it. I really like the shampoo, keeping it really close to the scalp. It's not, tingly or stimulating or anything. I like the conditioner as well, but I'm just such a like hardcore lover of the Davines products. I've loved them for so long. And the Momo conditioner is like my favorite thing in the world. So I'm just using both because my hair is dry in this perimenopausal phase, so it needs a
Mhm.
little more moisture. But my hair quality is already better with those. And that's a custom, like you go through pretty sure it's an AI quiz that you go through and they determine what ingredients based on all the things we just talked about, essentially, what ingredients can we put in there to address what's going on with your hair specifically. So I got like a curl cream and a mask and then the shampoo and conditioner. I really like the mask. You also get to pick the smell and it comes in this pretty little box with your label on it with your name. The label is
Mhm.
so cute
Oh,
on it.
adorable.
It's a little bit expensive, honestly. I don't know that I'll do the shampoo and conditioner again, but I
Mhm.
really like the hair mask.
Oh, okay.
So those are options. Yeah. And then I also, because of the acupuncture, it's under my scope of practice to be able to do microneedling. And that's also something that people will do for hair growth. I think you see it a lot more in men that are trying to stimulate back their hair growth because it does make little minor holes in the top of the skin. So it's going to open up and kind of aerate the areas where you want the hair to grow. And I like to do that. I like to microneedle my whole head, mostly the front spots where it's kind of coming in new. And then I have a little spot in the back that doesn't grow as well that I know is hormonal because it happened right after I was nursing my first son. Both of my kids nursed until they were like 2, but I was also pregnant with my second son and I nursed my oldest one for 6 months. So there was a lot while I was pregnant with the second one. So there was a lot of outgoing energy with that. And that area doesn't grow well. So I often will put that on there. But I love the combination of microneedling and then adding a topical on top of it and
Mm-hmm.
then the red light.
Yep.
That's a big stimulation right there. So with the topicals, what you want to think about is how am I trying to open up the follicle? Am I trying to strengthen the skin and the hair or the skin around the follicle, right? So that's like when fats and stuff would come in. If you're trying to get circulation, there are things like rosemary or the minoxidil. You get that dilation of the capillaries and the other little blood vessels in that area. Caffeine, you'll see a lot on there for stimulation. But I think that's kind of the idea, is that whatever stage you're in, you want to add in for what's happening with your hair at that point, whether you need, more of the hair, you need it to hold the hair, or you need it to just stimulate what you have there. A lot of the topicals, I think, do a little bit of everything. They have rosemary, they have collagen, they have caffeine, they have other herbs, the go-to colas or those type of vasodilating type of herbs. You'll see those in there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I just like to kind of try ones that are, what do you call it? I like to kind of try the natural ones first because, you think about like egg yolks and mayonnaise and jojoba
No.
oil. Like I've actually found that jojoba oil on the ends twice a week with my
Okay.
red light on is really, really nice because
Oh,
my hair's
cool.
just dry,
Yeah.
breaks easy. And I found a little trick recently. I've been using my hyaluronic acid that I put on my face. I've
Hmm.
been putting it on the ends because I'm like, wait a minute, it's kind of the same. Like it's so moisturizing
That's a
and
good
that works
idea.
great.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
And, like 3/4 of the way through my hair, the rest of the stuff's on the end is still pretty dry from the
Mm-hmm.
stressful time, but I'm getting close to it being replenished. So I'm feeling good about that.
Good.
But I think the hardest part and what will kind of bring all of this together is, why does this shit go haywire when we hit perimenopause? Why? All of a sudden? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is happening? Well,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, every cell in your body has receptors for estrogen. So,
Yeah.
first of all, if you're losing estrogen, I think that your body isn't necessarily going to prioritize your hair. It's
Right.
probably going to prioritize your heart and your liver and your
Digestion.
digestion and all the that actually keep you alive, not necessarily abundant.
Right.
And remember, when we lose our estrogen, we're losing our yin in nature. And our yin is like our rich blood. It's our hair, it's our skin, it's our nails. It's all of those things that are substance. And so if you're losing that, you're gonna kind of lose that as well. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the other part about it is you probably would want to talk to this with the having kind of gone down a path with like testosterone and DHEA and stuff, that I think some of the topicals work with that enzyme that interrupts, or is it the aromatase, that the
Yes.
finasteride will interrupt that, and all of that is coming. All of those are ways to interrupt downstream from your DHEA turning into androgens, and there might be too much or not enough, which can also make the hair fall out. And so for women, if we are having trouble, if our estrogen is dropping and we are having trouble upstream with our biggest hormone that turns into all of those, or we're not able to convert them for whatever reason, then we're having a little bit of trouble that seems more hormone based as opposed to maybe nutrient based, like we talked about before.
Basically, the enzyme is 5 alpha reductase. And what that enzyme does is it converts testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, DHT. And that is primarily going on in tissues like prostate, skin, hair follicles. And it is creating a more potent form of testosterone for male development, basically to help men get big and strong, but also to help women with things like bone health and mental health. However, DHT is very powerful, and when it is building up in places where it is converted, like the hair follicles, that can lead to that male pattern baldness that women can get up in the crown of their head and the sides too. In perimenopause and menopause, we're really looking at, pumpkin seed oil, rosemary oil, finasteride. They have like Nutrafol has like a DHT blocker, spironolactone. They're all
Mhm.
kind of deactivating 5 alpha
Yeah,
reductase because they're trying to make it so that you don't have so much DHT in your hair follicles that's making your hair fall out. There are some
right.
topical peptides, like One Skin has one. They have like a patented peptide that helps to create more growth. Nutrafol has a topical, and their topical contains exosomes, which are another kind of cutting edge treatment. Exosomes are also used in skincare. They carry DNA, RNA, and lipids to other cells, and they're really good for tissue repair and regeneration. Kind of like the next generation PHP, they're saying exosomes are.
Yeah.
Certainly talk to your doctor about the medical route if that's the route that you want to go. I do know that making sure that you're eating enough protein and enough nutrients. And if you need a digestive
Mhm.
enzyme to help to boost your stomach acid, as long as you're not on a antacid like omeprazole or Pepcid or Zantac,
Mhm.
or a
Mhm.
digestive enzyme that just helps with the bile flow and the lipase and carbohydrate digestion. All of that can be very helpful too without HCl in it if you are on one of those. That can help with absorption, but making sure also that the inflammation is not happening. And so inflammatory
Mhm.
menopause and perimenopause are pro-inflammatory conditions.
Yes,
They're
they are.
classified as that. So there's more inflammation in your body, there's more inflammation in your hair, and more things can go wrong. So even if things were okay before, then everything's inflamed. And one of the ways that your body freaks out when it's trying to fight inflammation is to get rid of things that it doesn't need, like hair.
Yes, that's so true. And I
Lame.
just want to throw one little magical little herb in here that
Okay.
is honestly, this is one of my favorite herbs. I have a lot of herbs that I'll use in formulas, like when I write custom formulas that I love. But this is one of my favorite that's specific to building blood. So in Chinese medicine, like I talked about before, you might be pale, your fingernails aren't growing as well, the hair isn't lustrous, you have maybe a scanty or really light period, you're tired, your muscles aren't growing really well. Maybe you have some underlying kind of back end disorder that isn't allowing you to like absorb the iron. What we say is that, the blood does carry all of these nutrients around that we need. And if you don't have enough of it, then obviously we're not going to get them. But in Chinese medicine, there's a really cool herb and it's called Hushu Wu, and it's a really beautiful vine. It's a Chinese knotweed. It's commonly called fo tea, but it's bitter, it's sweet, and it's astringent. In Chinese medicine, that's what we say is where the liver, holds the blood of the body aside from the, actual tissues and things. But its action, it's really like Hushu Wu, we can think of it as being like heavy and sedating too. Acrid is actually when it goes up and out from the chest. That's like something like how cardamom or like has that high note, the
Yep.
smell, it's really acrid, or ginger's really acrid, it like has that kind of high spice to it. So what's cool about that though is when I don't want to make it sound like we're doing both things, but the down nature is actually very settling for the blood. It's kind of like I said, it's kind of sedating. And we like that. We like the heavy. Like we think about without the chi, the blood won't move. And without the blood, the chi can't have anything to ride on.
Mm.
Right. So we want that blood to be like a foundation. We
Mm-hmm.
want it to really hold and be in there. But because we're moving and acting active beings, we do want that to move along. It's just we want the blood to like stay in the vessel in a way. So it's like this kind of sedating sort of energy. It keeps it heavy, it keeps it warm. It's the yin part of the blood, right? Like it
Mm.
consolidates and holds us down. So Hushu, where there's a funny little story that I've heard, and this is the only way I've heard this story described. I've tried to look it up and see if there's more details, but it's one of those kind of like folk tales about herbs that you hear. And they say that there was a man who was in a ton of trouble and they threw him in the dungeon and like left him there to die. And they came and checked on him, I don't know how much longer, months, years, who knows, but that he looked more alive and younger, and his hair was black and his skin was, perfect, and his hair was long and all these things. And they're like, how did you do this? And he's like, I just ate that vine the whole time, meaning he was eating the Hushu Wu vine. I actually have a tincture of Hushu Wu that I put with Vitex. I like the combination of those two
Mm-hmm.
for hormonal hair. So I have
Mhm.
them bulk, and then I put like a, vodka or whatever other white clear liquid I have laying around and turn those into a tincture. And I add that into my super cube in the morning. But the Hushu Wu you can find in some other formulas. I don't remember the Chinese name of it, but there's a formula called like beautiful whiskers, like, or a formula for beautiful hair and whiskers or something like that. And that has a very high dose of the Hushu in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's really dark. Like it looks like blood. Like when you tincture it, it's really dark.
Hmm.
It's so cool. Yeah, that's one thing I love about Chinese medicine is if it's very Taoist in the way that you look at how they work, right? Like, oh, that looks like blood. That must be helpful for my blood.
Yes, I know that is so cool. Well, and if you think about anything that has a deep dark color, whatever color it
Mhm.
is, it's more concentrated in the nutrients and in the polyphenols and all of those other wonderful antioxidants that
Tons
are,
of vitamin
yeah,
C. Yeah.
totally.
That's one thing I've always really appreciated about Mother Nature is there's this old school formula, which I'd love to put in the notes. You could probably, I hate saying Amazon, but you probably could just buy it on there. I see it even at like Fred Meyer or old school health food stores. It's been around since like the 70s, the Floradix,
Oh
which is
yeah,
just a combination.
or
It's
like
like a
you're saying.
dark jar.
Yep.
It's like an extraction slash tincture because it's not super alcohol based. So I can't really say tincture, but
It
more of
doesn't taste that bad.
like an elixir. It's great. I
Yeah.
love it. It's like a little sweet, a little bitter, yeah, a little astringent, all those things like Hushu Wu is, but all those dark, the red clover and dandelion and milk thistle, all those like liver loving herbs, they all actually come with vitamin C in them too, which I think is so cool. Like when you
Yeah,
take this whole herb, it already has everything in it you
it
need to
does.
absorb that iron later on, which is really cool. And the B vitamins and such too. Like so smart.
We do have to wrap it up, but from here, we are going to say to you that number one, we want diet quality and absorption. Are you getting enough of these vitamins C, iron, zinc, vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin D, which
Protein,
vitamin D
protein,
you can't really
protein.
get from, yeah, from food, but protein, yes, absolutely. Protein, 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 and absorption, absorption,
Mhm.
absorption of those B vitamins
Yeah.
as well, which may require an enzyme. Vitamin D is really only found in egg yolks and shiitake mushrooms and really cold water fish. So, if you're not getting enough in your diet, then you can certainly look at checking your level and supplementing once you know your level. Talking about topicals, acupuncture.
Yeah. I mean, there's all of the Oh, acupuncture, I love for it. I love micro needling more
Okay.
because it's just so much more
And you
effective.
can get those topicals into the
Acupuncture, I
follicle.
think, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
when you think about circulation being a really important part of growing hair, you need to have blood to carry all these nutrients that you're being so mindful of bringing in your body up to your head.
Mhm.
And sometimes, a lot of the time, actually, you're sitting at a desk all day, your neck and shoulders are super stressed. Maybe you have some arthritis in there. Maybe you're just like, you have a lot of pain up in your neck and shoulders. Acupuncture can be huge for releasing all of that tension and getting a good amount of blood flow up to the head. And we know how to direct the chi so that the blood will follow. And you can do points on the head for sure. Of course, that's
Mhm.
going to be helpful. I just like microneedling more because it's just more effective than having to put a gazillion needles in your head. And they go in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out. So it's
Right.
almost like a little massage, kind of stimulating. Yeah.
And you get that topical deeper into the follicle with microneedling,
Mhm.
using red light therapy like you're talking about. And, sometimes they'll have like, no, it's gone. Red light therapy like you're talking about,
Yeah.
and then
Hmm.
maybe going to
Those
the
are great.
doctor if you are so inclined.
Yeah. See what I mean, I think getting a blood panel is a great way to go. If you're like, that's
Ask
the
for that
best first place
DHC
to start.
and
Yeah. Go and
DHEA.
see
Yeah.
what's in your blood. How do you have enough? How is it behaving? Is there some weird genetic thing happening? And
Yep.
anything else that, yeah, might go along with that would be great.
And so remembering that, yes, there may be a supplement that they say, oh, like I know JS Health has one that a lot of influencers push, this hair growth vitamin. But you've got to remember
Hmm.
that if it was as simple as that, take a vitamin and
Yeah.
then everything will be fine, then that would be fine. But you either need to continue to take it forever if you don't address the problem, or
Yeah.
it's not really going to work very well if you don't address the problem. So you
Mhm.
want to look at the bigger picture, which is that your body is depleted of something. There's inflammation
Yeah.
going on. And so those things
Yeah.
need to be addressed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I'm just going to say I don't love Nutrafol. I think it is extremely extremely overpriced
Yeah,
for what it is. Yeah,
100%.
and I would have you visit one of our full scripts accounts You'll see it under hair growth. I have a handful of
Yeah,
things
go to
listed under
hers.
mine at least, where you can get the coatage
Yeah,
that's literally called hair vitamins. And I'm like, this is a knockoff that is literally half the price. And
right.
I don't think good job, Nutrafol. Like you guys did a great job. I just think it's pretty overpriced for what it is
There
personally.
was also one study, of someone who had a supplement-related liver injury from Nutrafol. It was just a one-person case study, but that was
Oh,
interesting.
weird.
Yep, directly
Huh.
tied to Nutrafol. And Untangled is another good one. It has a lot of like that cartilage in it and a
Nice.
lot of these vitamins. I know dermatologists recommend that one as well. So
Hmm.
Untangled's a great solution. If you want to try a liver or organ, but don't get sucked into like the heart and soil where they have a different line. They have a different product name, like one's for hair, one's for iron, one's for blood. It's all the same thing. So you only need really
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
just thinking about like I like Allergy Research Group, which is plain old beef liver.
Yeah. Totally.
Any of these things, but don't try everything at once necessarily. Like maybe
Right.
do like two things for a little while and improve your diet and then bring in something else or trade out something. But if you do
Yeah.
everything at once, then you
Or
never know what's
yeah.
working.
Or get a hold of one of us and we can kind of go over like where you are and introduce what might be working. I also
Yes.
wanted to throw in there really fast that in Chinese medicine we actually use a lot of placenta too, which sounds kind of
Mhm.
weird. But there is actually a source in New Zealand where I buy their company or I buy their calcium from
Mm.
there. It is Jarrow, the brand Jarrow carries this microcrystalline calcium from these sheep in New Zealand that are like, running around in a pasture so happy or whatever, but they also carry placenta from there, which is an extremely, extremely rich source of iron. It's that kind of synonymous with the liver, really.
Mhm.
So if you're not super weirded out by that, that's also another thing to think about, especially if you're postpartum and you did not have your own placenta encapsulated, which is like the number one thing I think you should do if you're going into a pregnancy, nervous about any sort of postpartum anything. You need to have your placenta encapsulated. You don't have to like put it in a blender or any shit like that. You can literally just take pills. It's fine. But
Mhm.
that's actually a great way to go too. That organ is very rich in iron.
Hey.
Temporary organ.
Wow. I won't personally be doing that, but I do appreciate that it is a natural source of these vitamins and minerals.
It is. It's great.
But food first, always. So remembering
Yeah.
if you can't absorb it and you're not eating it, then you're not going to benefit from it. You can take all the pills in the world, but you're probably
Yeah.
eating an inflammatory diet in that case, and that's just going to make things worse.
100%.
All right. Well, thanks for
All right.
coming. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Talk to you guys later.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. We offer personalized support to clients in many ways and would love to work with you. Reach out to Lara at Lala's Wellness and Molly at Women's Gut Health for more information. Unlock your full health and hormone potential with Super Cute, Boom Bomb, and Best Tea. Check out the link in the show notes for more. See you next Saturday.